to breed a granddaughter that was line bred on him for every single litter, with the last litter going directly back to him. And I think I was lucky that I actually picked a dog that was so moderate and correct at the time that it's really solidified the whole type and outline and movement of my line. I think all that line breeding on this one dog, I got lucky. I'll have to be honest, I just got lucky. So after all that line breeding, at one point, especially with the health defects we had at the time, FN, and I had to find a really good outcross. So I tried to find a dog that I felt was phenotypically the same outline. I wanted it to be moderate, correct, and be similar to the bitch that I was breeding to. And so I chose, I felt, what was the perfect dog. And you can see in this dog that he actually also, when we talk about the same outline moving as standing, we use this even in our education seminar because this is what we're talking about. So like I said, when I went on to use an outcross, I wanted to have that same moderate, correct outline. I will say that, you know, when we're talking about moderation, when you look at a line of dogs, and you made your eyes going down that line, if you see one and you think, wow, what a great long neck on that dog, guess what, guys? Take another look at that dog. That's not correct. That's not what you're looking for. You're not looking for any one thing that's going to jump out and say, look at this part. You want to look at that outline and what is correct standing in front of you. Okay. And for my third one, I picked a bitch that probably none of you have ever seen or heard about. This bitch was very, very lightly shown in Ohio. Her handler was not a great handler. This is the only good photo we could find of her. But she was beautiful. She was beautiful to go over. She was beautiful in the ring. Every single part here is what I consider correct. She did go best of opposite at Heart of Michigan under George Caddy. You know, one of the few times she was shown, and I just felt that I would throw this out there as not a famous dog, but a very, very correct dog. I don't see my notes. Let's see if I have my short-term memory. I'm just sorry that y'all didn't see her. So.
Thank you, Karen. All right, our third panelist from Canada, again, no stranger here, Virginia Line, Ransfell English Cockers. Jimmy's first English Cocker was the black and white UK import La Cranza Ringdove. Ransfell Cockers was established with the first litter bred in 1960. She is the breeder of multiple Best in Show and national specialty winning English Cockers in the United States and Canada. Perhaps the most notable was the dark blue dog, American-Canadian champion Ransfell Newsflash. Jenny began judging in Canada in 1969 and was approved by the AKC 2 years later. She has been an AKC All-Breed judge since 1979. CKC since 1979. She has judged across North America and around the world, only just returning from an assignment in China. Talk about jet lag, eh? The ECSC has had the pleasure of having her judge our national specialty 4 times. The first time in 1976 and most recently in 2012. Jenny?
I love serendipitous connections, and they were happening as these two good people were talking. I went, oh, Karen, the black and white bitch, your first English Cocker. Guess what? Black and white bitch, first English Cocker. Revelry, the Berrydale, beautiful, beautiful dog of Andrews, sired by Cimarron, who I adored and gave the national to. Then we had Linwater Dawn Shimmer that Sharon Derrick and I had the privilege and pleasure of putting our hands on when we went to Linwater to try and buy an English Cocker. And she sat us down in the living area of the kennel and started having these dogs brought forth and trotted around, and she put one up and I'd go over it and I'd say, not quite what I'm looking for. What else do you have? And then she'd bring another one, and she said, well, what don't you like? I said, well, I would really like to change this, this, and this, and but I like that, but I wouldn't. Oh, she said, to hell with it. Come, let's go to the back. And she took me through to the back kennel, and we had all of the dogs, and we went through litter and litter after this, and we saw curlies, we saw flats, we saw all sorts of different dogs, and the next thing we were seeing some of the horses, and it was an amazing experience. And the Dawn Shimmer bitch was out there. She was a veteran at that time, and she was spectacularly beautiful. There Andrew picks her. The three of us did not know what each other person was choosing. So this was a totally, totally independent selection. And we have all of these links and connections that happened for us. So it was kind of neat. Here's a dog for you. Shut your eyes, everybody. Don't go to sleep on me, just shut your eyes. Now, picture your ideal and most beautiful English Cocker that you can create in that black picture. I want you to take that black picture and be absolutely sure that there's nothing in there that is extreme, exaggerated, or out of balance. No long necks, no extreme rear angulations, a good moderate setback of fore chest, the front legs underneath the dog, the drop of the plumb line from the point of the wither down to the ground that runs straight down. You have something ahead of that dog. Please keep that black picture in mind as we talk about the other dogs that are coming up. You can open your eyes and carry that picture in your head. Always turn your dog black. The first dog that I elected to choose, because I felt that the solids were being neglected. I wanted to be absolutely sure that we did not neglect solids, because they're a wonderful, important, integral, vital part of our breed. I selected a very, very lovely red dog, born in 1979, Wittersham emblem, handled by our judge of tomorrow for many years. And this dog has an absolutely classically beautiful balanced headpiece. He has the modern angulation. He does not have a long tail. I'm not quite sure what Barbara's doing with that tail, but it gives the appearance that it's a long tail. He did not have a long tail at that time. He has a well laid back shoulder. He's got a firm top, level, short body, and was overall a very moderate, very balanced, and I love that soft expression on that head study picture. Absolutely classic and one we should be very proud of. I had judged him many times in Canada and in the States. We have to do a little history here. This is a very, very important dog in our breed. I was surprised that these other people didn't poke in there and find him. Galaxy, there's another classic headpiece for you if you want to talk about moderation and softness, balance, no extreme, no big back skulls. Everything is in proportion. There's the width over the nostrils, the bridge of the muzzle, the depth of the muzzle, and the soft, gentle curve. Notice the beautiful short back, well laid back upper arm, flow of neck into shoulder, everything is in balance and in proportion. Just our heritage, one of our heritage dogs in our breed. Very, very important. Thank you. A little more history for me. This was a dog that I gave the national to. She came into my ring and I went, oh my God, look what I got here. And we have the judges have conversations in their heads, you know. You realize that we do this. Whoa, where did that come from? Ah, look at that. I hope that can move. And that is an important thing. This bitch came in, she stacked up, she had the body, the rib spring, the short back, and the headpiece, and I went, oh, I hope it can move. And she could. So Cabri Glamour Girl whelped in 1998, and just one of those very special heartbeat dogs for me, and I remember all 4 of my national specialty winners. My very first dog, I couldn't use him because nobody could have found a picture of it. It was a dog called Maple Lawn Jasper Johns. It was a black and white dog. Marlon's nodding his head. That dates you, Marlon. And you. And he was handled normally by one of our very, very good dog people, Dick Becker, who Dick passed him over at that time because he had another dog that he was showing in the ring, and he couldn't show Jasper Johns, so he passed Jasper Johns over to a man that may be familiar to you by the name of Terry Stacy. And Terry Stacy was handling Jasper Johns when I gave him the breed at the National near Washington Dulles Airport with all the planes going over. And Dick sort of was slightly stunned, I think, that Terry, who was still a whipper or snapper of a youngster at that time, had succeeded in beating him in best in breed for the national specialty that year. It was also the year that I gave a black and tan dog, winner's dog, bred by Babs DeGarris, Abracadabra Lasso. God, I can remember the old stuff, I just can't remember the latest. So that's a bit of history. Okay. And I put this in here. And I think you have to appreciate that Anne Rosalind Williams was a master photographer who could correct all sorts of things. But I put this in, this is Locranza Loveletter, who is an exquisite black bitch, whelped in 1973. Goes back to broomleaf stuff. Eugene, are you here? He's not here. Shame on Eugene. Because he has stuff that goes back to Budbrook. And this, I just think this bitch is so beautiful. I am also prepared to acknowledge that there was probably a little bit of brilliant photo work done on this because it is slightly stylized. There is a degree of stylizing and exaggeration to this, but it does still make your heart a little bit warm when you see something of that quality in 1973. I hadn't been around long enough then not to appreciate. This is, I think, a very beautiful, and since I started in Locranza, I felt I had to acknowledge that connection. The flow of neck into shoulder, the beautiful balance of head, the planes of the head, curve of the muzzle, those tight feet that she has so obviously got. Good quality, tail right off the end of the back, even for a UK dog, and well let down in hock. Moderation and balance, and a very beautiful dog. Andrew, did you ever see her? Was she before your time? Before your time, okay. Those are my 3 dogs, and I'm not going to let you get away without a lecture. I want to read something to you. I want you to listen very carefully to this. It's only 2 paragraphs. I won't read the whole article. This is an article that I came across, and it went boing for me about something. It says, breed for improvement, not winners. It is easy to become lost in the purpose of breeding quality dogs. For some, the attraction of the bright lights, the glamour, and the glitz cause them to stray from the path. Developing a bloodline that is well considered and that is a positive influence for the breed takes considerable discipline. Too often, the seemingly slow and carefully orchestrated effort to improve a breed is crossed up with the immediate desire to breed that one big winner and become famous. The breeder's pledge must be to harbor and safeguard the breed. No breed is in perfect shape when the breeder happens upon it, and none shall be perfect when they leave. But to leave a breed in better shape than it was when you came upon it is the greatest compliment. To improve type, movement, temperament, and health must be the bottom line for every committed breeder. Such accomplishment takes a long-range plan that is carefully thought through. It requires dedication and purpose. All too often we are sidetracked by our desires to breed to the latest big winner, and then to the next and the next. Before long, the pedigree is a long list of who's who that have no relationship to each other than that they found success in the ring. What is key to learn and to believe is success in the ring is not an automatic indication of the dog's true quality. We all wish one indicated the other, but that is too easy. It would require the removal of human fallacy to be accomplished. Dogs do not excel for all the same reasons. Consequently, you can't simply breed one big winner to another and produce more big winners. Every feature and their nature of inheritance must be studied and understood before you can manage the inheritance variables. Once you gain this skill, you are on the road to producing a line of winners. And this is compliments of a man called Jonathan Kimes in Kansas City, Missouri. It just went boing for me, and I hope it gave you something that I think we need to keep coming back. It's not just the road to glory. I have really enjoyed my little short time here.
Let's give all three panelists a wonderful applause. I thought that was terrific. Now it's your turn. Questions? This is your chance. You got three breed experts. Down here.
I would like to know what these breeders consider to be ideal English Cocker temperament.
She would like to know what you three think is ideal English Cocker temperament.
I'll start, because I suppose I could be moderate in the answer. I can use one word, and it's merry. And in our standard at home, it's almost the first word, so it's fundamental. That's what they must display in the ring, but obviously, in terms of the function, they have to be very biddable. And we've probably seen, you can breed a showing fool, can't you? But would you want to live with it? And I think that is actually maybe the challenge for us as breeders of show dogs, where we're trying to breed actually a very ancient, historic gun dog, really. But Mary must describe it, but you have got to be able to live with it. Against that, I think what we see in all countries, and particularly certain times in the UK, otherwise beautiful dogs that actually don't want to be show dogs, and that's another challenge as well, really. And it's then dealing with it. But that's my answer.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
Stable, you know. They don't necessarily have to be smart, but, you know, stable and happy.
All right, another question.
I would like to ask these three excellent breeders, what do you think are the direction our breed is taking since the beginning, since you started breeding? And what advice would you give the breeders in the U.S.? And what traits do you think, in general, we need to improve?
Jenny, I'm going to start with you.
Which part of the question? There were 3 questions there. I'm not sure which part you want.
What changes have you seen?
What changes have we seen? Ooh. I think we have improved immensely from when I started in 1960 to where we are now. There is no question. We have more uniformity. Our dogs are better proportioned. I think we've got away from the really, really big dogs. We've gone away from the extremely exaggerated. I think we're getting away from the English setter with the short tail. I think we are moving away from the over-angulated dogs. We still have to watch because it's very easy to trip back up, and that's why we keep saying moderate, compact, short-backed, firm top line. I think we have made a lot of progress, and I am much happier with what I'm seeing. I do think that we have to watch the extremes at either end, that we aren't getting them too small. I think we need to pay attention to bone, the lack of. I think we need to be a little more aware of good feet. I think we are seeing some problems with a softer, flatter foot than I would like to see. I'd like to see a more depth. I'd like to see more forechest. In all of our sporting and all of our gun dogs, I think we need to return to a better layback of shoulder and upper arm with a dog that has his elbow underneath his body supporting the weight in the rib cage. But I think that there has been a tremendous amount of progress. I think we have some wonderful dogs out right at the present time.
That's good enough. More questions? Marlon?
Are you finding, and I know you get your hands on a lot of dogs, are you finding dogs that look on the line balanced, but on the table, their rib cages are shorter and the loins are longer?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I would say that a short rib cage is one of the major, it's not a major fault. But what I'm saying is the major number of dogs I have gone over have a short rib cage. It is very rare that I find one with the correct long rib cage to go with that short loin.
I might just develop that a little bit for you. Certainly I'd go along with ribs generally, flat ribs. We're seeing a lot of, this is a big rib dog and seeing less of it. The other thing I'm seeing is you're asking about what they look like in the lineup, and as we judge more, and maybe we judge dogs that actually aren't out doing the things the breed is designed for all the time. We see things that look beautiful in the lineup, that are coiffured, hairdressed, beyond comparison, actually pass the table examination quite well. And then when you put them down and watch them move, you think, do you actually run? Does this dog actually get exercise? Because you've actually examined the dog and you think, this dog should move well. Everything is in the right place. And I think we just, as breeders, need to remember the purpose of this breed. And yes, let's enjoy and be good at the hairdressing, but it must not be more important than the dog underneath. I think part of moderation is almost, to me, it's actually an understated dog. It is a dog that you appreciate really when you get your hands on it, less so from across the ring.
Thank you. We have another one over here.
Could each of you spend just a couple of minutes talking about the headpiece on an English Cocker and what you'd like to see and what you think is correct for the breed?
Headpieces, always an interesting topic. Who wants to go first?
I'll start because this will be the non-technical. We were talking about earlier about the revision of the Canadian standard, and one thing I have found since travelling here in North America, you actually talk about cockers to a level of detail that generally we don't in the UK. There's a big history of the stockman in the UK, the eye for a dog, who probably couldn't describe head planes and everything else, but equally would know a good head. So I'm not going to answer you with head planes or anything. For me, you know, when I look at a cocker's head and I look into the eyes, I see heaven. That's what I should see. Trust, melting. I see smoothness, curves, softness, completely. Obviously I see balance, good stop and everything else, but that's the head. And when I see one of those, you literally do melt, really. That's why people need to be careful with some of the implements, because if you do things, stones and all sorts, you actually are removing some of the softness and the appeal of the dog. That's my answer.
Karen, I'd like to hear from you on this.
I want to see a nice, soft, round head. I don't want to see any flat back skulls. I don't want to see any sharp angles. I don't want to see too much stop. I don't want to see a round eye. I want it to be all soft and contoured and nothing out of place. Just soft and pretty.
And to go on with the soft part of it, I think that when you look at the English cocker,